Did you know that you can actually change the classes of your companions? Because I had absolutely no idea until I was at least halfway through Act 2. So all you got to do is talk to Withers at your camp, and if you switch to your companion, then you can talk to him as the companion, and you can change the class. So let's talk about Fighter, because for me, Lae'zel is a member of my party. I've already done videos about my cleric and about what I've done for Karlach, so you can check those videos out. This video is all about Fighter, and in particular for me, that's Lae'zel. Now, she's already Fighter, so I'm not suggesting you change that, but she is a Battlemaster, and Battlemaster is okay, but I don't think it comes anywhere close to Eldritch Knight. So for me, you want to be changing Lae'zel, keep her as Fighter, change her to Eldritch Knight, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put some points into intelligence. So your main aim here will be to have strength, constitution, and intelligence. Now that means that you're going to dump the other three stats, put them down to 8, and then you should be able to get yourself a 16 and a 15. And then at level 4, if you want, rather than taking a feat, you can fix the 17 and 15 in order to get the extra stat boost, because it's even numbers that really matter to you. Now, why Eldritch Knight makes such a difference, especially if your intelligence is good, so you want to put that up, like I said, but you're going to actually start off by getting the cantrip Booming Blade. You can probably also grab Firebolt. Spells aren't as important, but the cantrips are really useful for you here. It means that your fighter's going to have a ranged attack in Firebolt, but also you're going to be able to start your attacks rather than just attacking normally. You're going to use Booming Blade. Now, Booming Blade, as part of casting it, you're actually going to make a melee attack, which is really good for the fighter. It was a great addition at tabletop. Booming Blade wasn't around in 5th edition D&D for a long time. It came much one of the later books that made any additions, and it was a really welcome addition. For my main character, I play a Bladesong Wizard, and that's going to be my main first attack. And because what I've done, and there's a video about this, I'll put that in the description. What I've done with Bladesong Wizard is once you've got second attack, if you're going to take the feat of mobile and then cast haste on yourself, then you're going to be able to make 4 attacks, 5 if you're dual wielding. But with the fighter, when you get to level 5, you get second attack, but you can actually turn that into 3 attacks, I think at level 6, when the Eldritch Knight is allowed to cast a cantrip first as an extra attack using the bonus action. So therefore, you're going to go Booming Blade, melee attack. And it makes a big difference if you've gone from level 4, where you've got 1 attack, to then 2 levels later, you've got 3 attacks. Makes a real difference. Now, there's an argument, and you can decide this early on, even before you get to level 4 and can pick a feat. But you will want to decide whether or not you are going to go sword and board, that's sword and shield, or if you're going to want to go with a two-handed weapon. If you're going to go two-handed weapon, then you probably want to pick a weapon that has the reach stat in its stat. Maybe it's just a reach description. This means that it's actually got a further reach than normal, because what you can then do, especially with fighter, because they actually get to pick feats at level 4, level 6, and level 8. So if you want, you can go at 4 and 6 to pick Sentinel and Polearm Master, and this will mean that you can actually do a reaction opportunity attack when a monster comes within range of you, but because you've got the reach weapon, they don't actually get to you, and because of having the combination of Polearm Master and Sentinel, you actually stop it from moving any further in that round when you land the attack, and that means that it's not even close enough to you to attack you that round. It makes quite a difference. Really useful combination. When I was doing my first playthrough on the standard level, then I went two-handed attack, and I picked Polearm Master and Sentinel. Maybe on tactical, which I'm now playing, you're better off going with sword and shield, or one-handed weapon and shield, which I've done in order to get your AC up, because shield actually adds 2. Even with the Bladesong Wizard, although I'm not allowed to use a shield normally, what I can actually do is walk around with the shield, and then in the first round of combat, I can drop the shield and switch to dual wielding. But for fighter, it's up to you. If you're familiar with the game, then you probably know what you're doing. You might not need as much AC. I want to play the custom level later, which will then allow me to put the bosses up, make them even harder. So AC is probably going to get even more important. But anyway, with the fighter, like I said, you've got the options of Sentinel, Polearm Master, or you're going to go with the Sword and Shield. If you go Sword and Shield, then Alert is a feat worth considering, means that you can go earlier in combat. I quite like being able to do that, although you may actually find that as a fighter, you actually want to go later on, and that way the monsters have moved closer to you, and you can see the lay of the land and what sort of the battlefield actually looks like. So if you're going to go with the Strength, Constitution, and Intelligence build, then your dump dex down to 8, then it means that you're going to be on a -1 for your initiative rolls. So you're probably going to go later in it. My Bladesong Wizard is a dex build, probably has +4, I think, is therefore often going absolutely first, which I really like. But it's up to you where you want the fighter to be. I think there can be an argument for maybe a cleric having Alert, because then they can go early, and if you're actually casting Bless on people as your cleric's concentration spell, then that works really well. But back to the fighter. So you've decided whether or not you're going sword-board or two-handed. That's going to tell you whether or not you should go feat or reach weapon. If you're going with the Sword and Shield, you might want to consider Alert. You might want to fix your odd stats because you don't get the ability increase until you've got an even number. So maybe at level 4, you can get yourself to an 18, 16, 16. You probably want Strength to be your 18 because you're going to be attacking most of the time with a melee weapon. So therefore, that's going to make it more likely that you land. But Lae'zel can be really useful here. She fits well with it. I actually changed the class of Karlach. I changed the subclass of Cleric. We're only changing the subclass here for Fighter. You can actually run into some issues changing the classes for some of the other characters. It doesn't really work very well for Gale. Depending on what you pick, it can work for Will. Astarion seems to work really well. And the ladies, they all work really well there. So Shadowheart can easily be changed to almost anything. But I would keep her as Cleric and just change the subclass. For Karlach, I'm not a big fan of Barbarian, so I would suggest changing her class. But for Lae'zel, she really works as a fighter. She's aggressive. She fits well. I think she fits the storyline well, so she's a good person to have as a companion. If you're playing a good character, she tends to fit better with maybe playing an evil type character. If you're playing the Dark Urge, then she fits really well there. Whereas Karlach, Will, and Gale seem to be your good companions. Shadowheart, Astarion, and Lae'zel seem to be the bad guys, maybe, seem to be fitting, but it's entirely up to you how you want to play it. Maybe play a good guy first, then go for tactical, turn the difficulty up, and maybe go for the Dark Urge. It's nice to actually get some backstory or to have something going on, so I even started it being nice, but then it kind of evolved. But Fighter is a really good class to have on board. I just don't really think the subclasses work very well compared to Eldritch Knight. Having intelligence, having a ranged attack, having Booming Blade as your main attack. The fact that you can take Shield as one of your spells is really useful, so you can actually react to something, put your AC up. And the nice thing about Shield is that it lasts for the whole of that turn. So if you use it on the first attack that you're getting hit with, then it will still apply to any later attacks, and I found that really useful. Anyway, obviously the fighter's going to have heavy armor. That's really easy. It's why I much prefer a fighter to a barbarian. I've spoken in a previous video. I don't really see the benefits of barbarian if you're looking at it from a melee class. Paladin is a lot more useful. Fighter is going to have the more attacks, especially if you go for the Eldritch Knight with a Cantrip Booming Blade attack. Like I said, you get 3 attacks at level 6, makes a big difference. If you've got your Bladesong Wizard as your main, then you've got another 4 attacks there. Any melee class is going to have second attack by level 5 or 6. So I actually encourage people to pick any class that is going to get second attack at some point. So that your Bladesong Wizard is the only wizard that gets it. I think that possibly War Cleric is the only cleric that gets it, or other melee classes get it. Even the Bard gets it, I think maybe at level 6, because they're considered somewhat of a hybrid. I think a Bard could be a really good main character to pick because they're charisma-based, whereas Fighter probably isn't the sort of class that you want to be playing yourself. You've got a good choice there. Karlach would make a good fighter. Lae'zel is a fighter. You could probably flick Astarion into fighter. Will would work as a fighter. So you've got lots of options there, but the fact that you can take some spells and you can actually be casting is really useful. I even got a ring where I gave it to Lae'zel that actually gave her a heal and a bless opportunity in a short rest, I think. So that was good use of short rest there. The fighter will also get second wind, which is another form of healing self only. And you've even got action surge, which gives you an extra attack. Now, tabletop, the action surge would get you one extra attack, but here you actually get both attacks if you've already got second attack. So Baldur's Gate have made it much friendlier rather than tabletop, which I really like. There's a lot of things that they changed that is just nicer and friendlier, and it really works. If there was a list of all of their rules, then I think that would be a really good homebrew rule to run tabletop if you were to do it. But anyway, there's my thoughts on Fighter. I really think it is worth changing. If you've watched all of this and you're still watching, then let me know in the comments whether or not you knew that you could even change the classes of your companion, because as I said at the very beginning, I was halfway through Act 2, which is probably maybe 50 hours into the game before I even thought to try and change to a companion at camp and realised I could do it. I was only doing it so I could go over to the mirror, but actually I suddenly realised, well, maybe I can go and talk to Withers, and I did, and then you've got the option. It's 100 gold to change your class, but even if you're only doing it in order to change some of the stats or change a subclass, absolutely worth it. Makes a complete change to it. Let me know what you think. I'm going to do some extra videos about it, so if you're interested in any of these videos, then please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. See you all next time.